Insight-Nexus-News, November 10th, 2024. Welcome to Insight-Nexus-News. I'm Paul, and today we're diving deep into the world of lobbying. It's a term we hear in the news, but what exactly is lobbying? How does it shape policies and influence decision-making? And who does it really serve? Join us as we explore lobbying's historical roots, its role in modern society, and the benefits and controversies surrounding this powerful force. Lobbying at its core is a process in which individuals or organizations advocate for specific policies or legislation, often by influencing government officials. Typically, lobbyists are employed by corporations, nonprofit organizations, labor unions, or other interest groups. Their goal: to sway public policy in ways that align with their organization's interests. The origins of lobbying. The term lobbying traces back to the 19th century in the United States, when individuals seeking political influence would gather in the lobbies of legislative buildings to speak with lawmakers. However, the practice of lobbying, attempting to influence leaders, extends back centuries. Ancient civilizations, including Greece and Rome, had similar practices where citizens or groups advocated before their rulers for specific changes or protections. In the U.S., lobbying became more organized as industries like railroads, oil, and banking grew influential during the Industrial Revolution. This period also saw the emergence of professional lobbying firms, paving the way for modern-day lobbying, where companies pay experts to advocate for their interests. How lobbying works. In modern-day lobbying, lobbyists use various methods to sway policymakers. 1. Direct contact with legislators. Lobbyists meet directly with lawmakers and their staff to present their views on specific legislation or regulatory proposals. This can involve explaining how a policy might impact their clients or presenting alternative solutions that benefit their cause. 2. Campaign contributions. Many lobbying firms and political action committees, PACs, support candidates financially. Although laws regulate direct contributions, contributions from PACs aligned with corporations or unions have become significant, especially since the Supreme Court's 2010 Citizens United decision, which allowed unlimited corporate spending on political campaigns. 3. Grassroots mobilization. Some lobbying efforts include mobilizing the public to contact their representatives. By rallying large numbers of constituents to express their opinions, lobbyists create pressure for change at the grassroots level. 4. Public relations campaigns. Lobbyists often launch media campaigns to shape public opinion around issues relevant to their clients. This can range from television ads to social media campaigns that frame the narrative in a way that sways both voters and policymakers. Real-world examples of lobbying in action. 1. Pharmaceutical industry. In the U.S., pharmaceutical companies spend significant amounts on lobbying to influence drug pricing policies, research funding, and regulations surrounding patents. Organizations like PHRMA, Pharmaceutical Research and Manufacturers of America, represent these interests, often pushing back against policies that would lower drug prices. 2. Technology giants. Companies like Google, Apple, and Facebook invest heavily in lobbying efforts, particularly concerning data privacy laws, antitrust regulations, and content moderation. By doing so, they seek to maintain influence over the policies that govern their operations and profitability. 3. National Rifle Association, NRA. One of the most well-known lobbying groups, the NRA has historically wielded enormous power over gun legislation. Through lobbying and mobilizing its members, the NRA has influenced key legislative decisions related to gun ownership, reflecting the interests of its members. The pros of lobbying. When it functions ethically and transparently, lobbying can be a vital part of democracy. Representation for diverse interests. Lobbying enables various interest groups, from environmental activists to corporate industries, to have their voices heard in the policy-making process. This diversity allows for more perspectives and can lead to more comprehensive legislation. Expertise for lawmakers. Politicians may not be experts on every issue. Lobbyists can provide specialized knowledge, data, and insights that help shape informed legislation. For instance, scientists lobbying for climate policies can contribute valuable data and expertise. Policy advancements. In some cases, lobbying has led to significant social progress. For example, civil rights groups have lobbied for laws protecting minority rights, while environmental organizations have advocated for regulations to combat pollution and protect endangered species. The controversies and drawbacks of lobbying. Despite its benefits, lobbying raises serious concerns, particularly regarding transparency and fairness. Influence of money. Critics argue that lobbying grants outsized influence to wealthy corporations and individuals. Because lobbying can involve significant campaign contributions, those with the financial means to fund large-scale lobbying efforts may effectively buy political influence. Regulatory capture. This occurs when regulatory agencies are influenced by the industries they are supposed to regulate. For instance, former lobbyists for oil companies being appointed to oversee environmental regulations can lead to conflicts of interest. Undermining public trust. When voters see the extent of corporate lobbying, they may feel disenfranchised or disillusioned with the political process, perceiving it as a system that benefits corporations over citizens. The transparency of lobbying practices, or lack thereof, has led to growing calls for reform. The modern debate: who does lobbying really serve? On one hand, lobbying serves those who can afford its services, typically corporations and affluent interest groups. Yet it's also an avenue for nonprofit organizations and grassroots movements to influence policy. The question, however, remains: does lobbying serve the public, or primarily those with financial power? Efforts to reform lobbying practices are ongoing. Some advocate for greater transparency, requiring lobbyists to disclose their funding sources and specific activities. Others call for caps on lobbying expenditures or stricter limits on campaign contributions. In recent years, grassroots organizations have highlighted that lobbying reforms are essential to restoring public trust in the democratic process. They argue that a fair system should allow all voices to be heard, regardless of financial means. And that wraps up our report on lobbying. We hope this deep dive has shed light on the mechanisms of influence shaping our policies and government. Remember, awareness is the first step toward accountability and reform. If you found this report informative, please like, subscribe, and share it with others to help spread the word. Stay tuned to Insight-Nexus-News for more in-depth reporting.